taking a little longer than usual.
We're going live on YouTube, sir. Just a minute. Yeah, we're good to go, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Good to go, sir.
Fine. Namaskara. Good evening to one and all. University Law College Alumni Association Bengaluru and University Law College Bengaluru presents webinar 11. Topic for today's presentation is divorce laws, threat to institution of marriage. And the resource person for this evening is Ms. Yovini Rajesh Rora, Advocate, High Court of Karnataka. On behalf of the college and the association, I deem it a great privilege to welcome the resource person, Ms. Yovini Rajesh Rora. Welcome you, madam.
Thank you.
I also take this opportunity to welcome the principal of our college, Professor Dr. Suresh V. Nadgowder, and the president of Alumni Association, Sri Gautam Chand SF. I also welcome Sri Hem Kumar K, the Vice President, University Law College Alumni Association. I am joined by all the members of the Executive Committee of the University Law College Alumni Association and the members of teaching faculty of University Law College in welcoming you, Ms. Yovini Rajesh Rora. I also welcome all the participants who have logged in today for this webinar. Thank you, one and all. Over to you, Bindu.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 11th session of the webinar series organized with the University Law College Alumni Association, jointly with the University Law College, Bangalore University. Let me introduce our today's speaker, Mrs. Yovini Rajesh, Advocate, High Court of Karnataka. Thank you, ma'am, for accepting our invitation. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. Mrs. Yovini Rajesh, an alumni of University Law College, who was known by name Amita Mehta during her college days, was an outstanding student who completed a 5-year law course in the year 1994, securing the first rank from Bangalore University. She has done a master's in business laws from National Law School of India University. During her college days, she was an outstanding mooter, winning several accolades at various moot court competitions. She secured the first place in audit of merit for individual performance to represent the country at Philip C. Jessup International Law Moot Court Competition in 1992 at Washington, D.C., wherein she participated in the semi-final rounds. Mrs. Yovini Rajesh enrolled with the bar in the year 1994. She started her career in the office of late Sri G. Chandra Kumar, senior advocate, and is presently a partner in the same law firm, Chandra Kumar and Associates, and has vast experience of 26 years in the bar. Mrs. Yovini Rajesh has conducted various matters across various courts across the country in areas such as criminal law, civil law, banking law, family law, labor law, tax laws, arbitration matters, and original and appellate side jurisdiction. Mrs. Yovini Rajesh is also a certified mediator. She is also a part of Internal Complaints Committee constituted under Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013 by various multinational companies. Since time immemorial, marriage has been the greatest and the most important of all institutions in human society. Attitude towards divorce have changed in India and the rate of divorce have increased over years. Today, Mrs. Yovini Rajesh would be speaking on divorce laws, threat to the institution of marriage. Over to Mrs. Yovini Rajesh.
Thank you. Thank you, ULCAA, for giving me this opportunity. So, hi, everyone. Today's topic is divorce laws, threat to the institution of marriage. Before understanding divorce laws, let us try to understand what is marriage? What are the laws governing marriage? Now, historically speaking, marriage is understood to be a union, a relationship, generally between a man and a woman, which is formal, which is also legally and socially sanctioned. It is one of the most ancient, important universal and indispensable social institution. It's been there right from the inception of human civilization. Why does one marry? Now, man has this social instinct, biopsychic instinct. Instincts drive man naturally. Therefore, human beings naturally are driven into the institution of marriage. Well, these aspects of marriage are universal across mankind. Therefore, if we want to understand marriage across any society, across any culture, there are 5 important reasons, needs, desires for which human beings marry. 1, sexual gratification. 2, labor, division of and its regulation. 3, money, economic production and consumption. 4, the satisfaction of personal needs like affection, the status, as well as companionship. Lastly, but not the least, procreation, the care of children, their education, socialization, and regulation of the lines of descent. Now, these are the characteristics of marriage. They remain the same across the world for everybody from time immemorial. However, there are different types of marriages. What are they? The most universal type of marriages is monogamy, wherein there is one man and one woman. Most developed nations actually follow these practices. After the death of one of the spouse, one may or may not remarry. Then we have another type of marriage called the polygamy, where one man can marry more than a woman. For example, it's the Muslim states which follow such kind of marriages. We then have the polyandry, wherein a woman can marry many men. African, Indian tribes, they are historically speaking, having such practices even found today. Then there are group marriages or endogamy, which are very rare, but are found still in utopian societies. Then there is what is one of the most modern types of marriages today, polyamory or polyfidelity. These are open marriages. There are multi-partner marriages. These couples are called as open couples, swinging couples. Jealousy and possessiveness are structured very differently. Now look at this. There is this city council of Somerville in Massachusetts. It is the first American city, it's unbelievable, during the times of COVID, has recognized this type of marriage and made it legally valid. Why is it so? A very simple economic reason. The insurance policies of the other partner can be had access to. So this is how different types of marriages actually can be stretched or contracted as per the needs of human beings. In Netherlands, otherwise in Dutch laws, we find such open marriages. Then you have very unique marriages in India. Like if there is a bad omen or bad luck as per the astrology, the bridegroom is married to the tulsi plant so that the correct marriage actually to the lady is protected. Then we have Mormonism. This type of marriages actually enter into the spiritual world. LDS temples, that is the Church of Jesus, Christ of Latter-day Saints, they're considered to be very, very sacred. They believe that marriages also continue post-death. And then the deceased has a choice to continue or reject marriages. Then we have what is called as walking marriages or no marriages, which are practices followed in China, some provinces where the man and woman do not reside in one household, but come and visit as they please. And there are no fathers in the families, it's only matriarchal. Then we have the endogamy and the exogamy, where marriages are within the group or otherwise outside the group. Then we have marriages within the kith and kins, the cross cousins, parallel cousin marriages, etc. These are followed in some of the regions of India. Then we have the anuloma and pratiloma, also called as the hypergamy and the hypogamy, where a higher caste woman or a man marries the lower caste man or the woman. We also have child marriages, which is so prevalent in the Asian countries like India, China, Bangladesh, etc. All over the world, generally 18 is considered to be a safe age and also legally recognized to marry. Well, it would be an interesting fact to know that in India, during COVID, the number of child marriages have increased. For example, in Karnataka, just last year, there were over 100 child marriages which were registered. And it's shocking to know in the last 4 to 5 months of COVID, that is from April to July, there are already 100 child marriages registered in Karnataka. Reason? The girl child. It is easier to actually get rid of the daughters, get them married off. Poverty, economic reasons. Then we have what the Honorable Supreme Court of India has upheld in 2018, the LGBT rights. All along, for years together, the LGBT, they were not recognized, although in 29 countries, their marriages are legally valid. In India, it was only in 2018 that Section 377 has been held to be unconstitutional and the act has been decriminalized. Now, till then, there have been several Supreme Court judgments as well as some High Court judgments in Haryana, Uttarakhand, etc., wherein these kind of arrangements and protections were given in live-in marriages. Well, we also have forced marriages. Forced marriages are those which are not recognized anywhere in the world, including the United Nations, which views forced marriages as a form of human rights abuse. Then we have the arranged marriages and the love marriages. Arranged marriages where the families, relatives are involved, and love marriages where it is only the couple who drives it forward. One can go on and on and on. So from the social angle, the religious angle, from a general perspective, now we are very, very clear. What is marriage? What are its characteristics? Its needs, desires, intention, as well as there are different types of marriages. But now let us examine what is the legal perspective of marriage. What are the laws governing marriage? The first and foremost question that arises for consideration to any human being is that, is a human being, be it a man, woman, LGBT, anybody, is that person free to marry another human being? Now that's an important question which has to be answered legally speaking, though socially, religiously, individually, one may have different views, but somewhere it has to be settled uniformly with a common law across the world. So legally speaking, in India, Justice D.Y. Chandrachud has actually settled this matter in a landmark decision of the Honorable Supreme Court, a 3-judges bench in 2018 in the case of Shafin Jahan versus Ashokan. It was held that the right to marry a person of one's choice is integral to Article 21 of the Constitution of India. Constitution of India guarantees a right to life, and the right to marry is considered to be the right to life. It is also intrinsic to the right to liberty. Every human being has got a right and the ability to choose his or her own partner in his pursuit of happiness. Also, the Honorable Supreme Court has further held that the marriage rights are exclusive domain of such individual, and they remain in the core zone of privacy. To summarize this, it means that any human being has a right to marry another human being of his or her own choice, and that is a fundamental right guaranteed by the Constitution of India. Now, this is a settled law. What is the position internationally? Well, Universal Declaration of Human Rights states that a person's right to choose a spouse and enter freely into marriage is central to his or her life and dignity, and his or her equality as a human being. So, what does this mean? Legally and ideally speaking, one is free to choose their own partner as they wish, and this is the universal law across the world. It is recognized by mankind all over. Now, this means that the universal laws actually override the religious laws, the religious beliefs, the social laws, social beliefs, the caste, creed, culture, age-old beliefs. Everything is overridden by the universal laws recognized by mankind. This is because the universal laws are based upon humanity. Humanity, which means before the eyes of God, all are equal, man and woman equally. It is said in Bible, above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. Even saints advise, bride and groom are not they who pose as one whole. Bride and groom are they who are two bodies and one soul. Now, this sounds very good, perfect. There should absolutely be no problems in any marriage at all. Everyone, every married individual should be happy. But there is this big but. When one tries to exercise this right, the fundamental right to marry, that is when a number of issues arise. If broadly can be divided into three main issues. One, the wedding ceremonies, functions, parties, exchange of gifts, dowry, bride price, involvement of parents, relatives, friends, the methodologies, customs, rituals to be followed, in what manner to conduct the marriage. That is one. Two, after marriage, during the subsistence of the marriage. Issues on what are the rights of a woman, the wife. What are the rights of a man, the husband. What are the property rights? What are the rights of the children? How should the marriage be designed? How should they be behaving with each other? Varies from culture to culture. Hundreds of issues arise. Then third issue, if for any reason the marriage would fail or there would be a dissolution of marriage, then how do you dissolve the marriage? What are the rights over the children? What is the alimony, the maintenance, property divisions, visitation rights? A number of such issues arise. So, what is to be understood is that the fundamental right to marry and live with your spouse with dignity, privacy, liberty, etc., is not absolute. It is subjected to reasonable restrictions. Those restrictions as provided under laws. Why? Why can't the couple live as they want? Either they can kill each other or live happily with each other. What is anyone's business? That is because each and every right which is fundamentally guaranteed to an individual has to be subjected for the public good, because man is a social animal. We all have to coexist. We have to live and let live. So it's not just about the individual rights. A balance has to be made, on one hand, giving the individual rights, and the other to maintain public decency, public morality, and also for the public good. Therefore, it's extremely important to refer here to another landmark judgment, 9-judge Constitution bench, in the case of Justice K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India, decided in 2017, wherein Justice D.Y. Chandrachud has laid down the test of reasonableness. On one hand, he says the right to privacy is a fundamental right, which is guaranteed under Articles 14, 19, and 21. However, on the other hand, he lays down the tests of reasonableness. They are threefold. One, first, there should exist a law which should be reasonable, substantially and procedurally fair, just, and reasonable. Two, there should be no arbitrariness and restrictions imposed by the state in pursuit of its aim must necessarily fall in the zone of reasonableness under Article 14. Three, the means that is adopted by the legislature are proportional to the subject and needs to be fulfilled by the law. That is a test of proportionality. So, to understand from a layman's point of view, all the rights that a human being gets to marry and live with dignity, independence, and whatnot is subjected to certain laws for the public good. And that has been decided by the Honorable Supreme Court, the judge-made laws, the legislatures, and recognized all across the world over. Then the question arises that what are these reasonable marriage laws? which govern my life, which interferes in my life, which doesn't allow me to live happily in my marriage. That's where we feel suffocated and all the issues and problems related to marriage arise. So let's examine these marriage laws in India first, and then internationally. In India, one would be shocked to know, if one hasn't realized till date, that the marriage laws are highly complex, plural, diverse. They are not uniform. That means if you're an Indian citizen and if you're a Muslim woman, the laws that govern you are very different from another woman who is Hindu or a Christian or a Jew or a Jain for that matter. That means the laws in India are age-old laws which are based on religion, based on caste, creed, culture, family values. Human beings, whatever they have organized and structured right from the primitive times, are yet being continued, simply codified in one form or the other. For example, if you're a Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh, Jain, it's the Hindu Marriage Act 1955, where we believe that marriages are made in heaven, sacrosanct. It took 20 years to even add cruelty as a ground for divorce under this act. So you can imagine what the laws are under which we are governed. Then, if you are a Muslim, earlier there was the Qazis Act 1880, and then you have the Muslim Personal Law Shariat Application Act of 1937. Then if you're a Christian, you have the Indian Christian Marriage Act. If you're a Parsi, you have the Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act, and so on. If for any reason you're modern, if for any reason you feel that you're very broad-minded, you want to overcome all of this, and you don't believe in caste, creed, religion, and you want to have a neutral marriage, then you have the Special Marriage Act 1954, Foreign Marriage Act. However, how many of us choose that? And then there are a number of secular laws like 498A, IPC on cruelty, 3 and 4, DP Act, Dowry Prohibition Act on dowry, the Family Courts Act, the Domestic Violence Act, the Section 125 CRPC for maintenance and alimony issues. You have the GNWC Act, Guardians and Wards Act. One can go on and on and on and on. The sum total effect of this is that there is no comprehensive, uniform civil law in this country. No UCC. That means, despite the constitutional rights, despite the universal laws recognized all over the world as well as in India, we are not governed by them. Rather, the religious local laws dominate the universal laws, dominate the devised laws. The divine laws, laws of equality, the universal laws are dominated by religious, local, orthodox laws. Look at this. That is why UCC, introduction of which has been a huge controversial subject. Let us take the example of the well-known Shah Banu's case. What happened in the 80s? This lady, who is about 73-year-old lady, married for 40 years, is overnight thrown out of the marriage just because the husband desires it. She begs for alimony and maintenance. The Kerala High Court does not grant, and then she goes to the Supreme Court, and then it's reversed. Supreme Court grants her maintenance under Section 125 CRPC, but what happens? An uproar. There are fights, political unrest, Hindus, Muslims. The mentality is, how dare the state interfere in our personal laws? We may kill our women. We may not respect our women. We may give them money. We may not give them. It's no one's business. Immediately, what happens? The Muslim Women Protection of Rights of Divorce 1986 Act is passed so that 125 CRPC is not applied. What happens? Again, the fight for justice continues. And then we have only recently in 2017, the landmark decision of the Honorable Supreme Court in Sharia Banu case, wherein the Honorable Supreme Court says enough is enough. The practice of triple talaq, the practice of actually having curbed the rights of women is highly unconstitutional. And then comes the Muslim Women Protection of Rights of Marriage Act, which is 2019, which makes it penal, a crime to divorce a wife like this. But alas, this litigation is also pending till today. The fight is on. So Article 44 of the Constitution of India, which expects Indian states to actually make, as per the directive policies, a uniform law so that every citizen gets equal treatment, is completely curtailed. Curtailed by whom? Very easily we blame politicians. Very easily we blame the fact that women are the ones who are not educated. Women don't want to come up, male-dominated society and whatnot. Are we? A question is to be asked to ourselves. Are we, whether we are a man or a woman or a Hindu or a Muslim, whatever, are we ready to let go of our religious laws, ways of lives? Are we ready to give up our caste, creed, family values? Even in 2020, the most educated man or woman would still first look at the caste, creed, value systems governed by the age-old orthodox practices. Then whom are we to blame for being subjected to these traditional, complex, uncivilized laws and not getting the relief under the United Nations declarations and also under the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Constitution of India? It's only in books, paper, theory, classroom sessions, feminism, NGOs, and all kinds of processions, media. Everything is useless unless and until we as human beings rise up in our consciousness and question ourselves to let go of our age-old practices and allow the divine laws to govern, recognized by mankind in the form of universal laws, recognized by the United Nations organizations, incorporated in the Constitution of India, guaranteed under the fundamental rights. But no, we would not. The practice continues. We predominantly have civil marriages where the government, tired of this nonsense, has actually allowed religious marriages to be recognized, registered. And on the other hand, there are other religious marriages which are not even registered. Can we believe, though the Honorable Supreme Court has been time and again saying that let there be compulsory registration of marriages, till today, marriages are not being registered? Because, again, blame it on ourselves. We don't want to be transparent. We don't want the woman complaining that there is another lady, there's adultery. We do not want to suffocate our own rights. What is convenient, let it go on. We are all in our comfort zone. It's a man's world. And the woman is comfortable as long as the man is giving money or in a particular setup protecting her, in brackets, maintaining her. Because we are trained and programmed right from Manusmriti and age-old laws that women are weak. We have to be dependent first on our father. Then we have to be dependent on our husbands, and then the son. We are absolutely incapable animals. We can do nothing. And if for any reason any woman works hard to become independent of the man, she's curbed frowned upon, pulled down, insulted. Her rights are taken away. Now just imagine. Internationally, also, the situation is no better. So let's not just say Indian women, very often I heard in my legal practice of 26 years say, there's no life for women in India and therefore we want to go abroad. How better is it there? Absolutely zero there too. How is it? There were no religions. There was not so much diversity there. Well, one can't forget, again, it's a male-dominated society. Internationally also, the Hague Convention, the Hague Marriage Convention, 1978, it tried to bring in uniformity. No country wants to actually come on a uniform platform with another. Just like we say, Karnataka is not agreeing with Maharashtra, is not agreeing with Uttar Pradesh or Kerala. Somewhere we have patriarchy, somewhere we have the matriarchy, somewhere, no, nuclear family, joint family, somewhere this, somewhere that. Well, world over, it's the same story. US doesn't want to agree with Europe. Europe doesn't want to agree with Australia. We will never treat each other equally. Never. That is, again, a human instinct, animal instinct. And we say, we are civilized. Is this civilization? Now let us see. If this is the situation and this is how we are living, because we have no choice, you see. We have absolutely no choice. We have daughters in the house. We have to get them married. What do we teach them? Don't get married? Is a spinster's life better? What are the rights of a woman the moment she loses a husband? Is a widow's life better? What happens to a woman when she gets divorced? Is a divorcee's life better? What is the situation of women across the world? Well, the topic of today's discussion is not any women's right, but predominantly one thing has to be believed, accepted, that in all the marriage laws, if transformation has to come, it has to come with the cooperation of the men. It can never be only with women. The LGBT have fought for their rights. They got some rights. Men are not interested. It's okay. They are, after all, in this side. But women can keep fighting without any result. So how do we handle this? This situation, when marriage laws themselves are so diverse, so complex, so difficult to run a marriage, whether in India or abroad, then the question is, how complex are the divorce laws? Well, the divorce laws are no better. The divorce laws are exactly the same like the marriage laws. Religion-based. If I am a Muslim woman, my husband can actually practice having 3 more women. If I am a Hindu, then obviously I have a right to complain for infidelity or adultery as a ground of divorce. So, all the laws which are there for marriages also equally provide for divorce only based on the religion, caste, creed, culture, family value systems, languages, everything to the convenience of the age-old belief which we don't want to change. So much so that divorce itself was not recognized in Indian society. And then the legislature in its wisdom introduced. So this brings us to a very, very important question today. That if divorce is allowed to take place, which is happening for quite some time, and everybody knows in the modern culture, especially in the Western civilization, and the influence of the Western India, especially where even the culture of live-in has come in and sexuality is no longer actually restricted to marriage alone, but also is freely practiced by our children. Then in such a free society, open society, the question is now, divorce is also happening very, very quickly, and it's accepted. The question then arises is, are divorce laws a threat to the institution of marriage? Let us examine. Well, what governs our mindset? The religion? Our thinking, the way we have been brought up in the society? We are programmed so. Even divorce today in 2020 is governed not by the laws, not by Western civilization, not by a fad, but by our mindset. Which mindset? The mindset which has been instilled by our parents from childhood. Our upbringing, our caste, our creed, our culture, that's what makes us. So, if divorce is taking place today, not because of the laws and because of the mindset, let us see it for ourselves in the statistics. India, such a big country, thickly populated country, though the divorce rate appears to be rising very high amongst the children today, is hardly 1%. Though we have 1,000 problems in the marriages, dowry harassment, wife beating and whatnot, what happens? Let's take an example. There is this man who believes that shouting at wife is normal. Slapping his wife is normal. It's culturally accepted. If she complains, she's ridiculed. He will continue to do so. And she's programmed in a manner not to react. She accepts it, considers it normal. Why? It's not that she's not educated. It's not that she doesn't know the laws. It's not that the police station is not close by. But it is her culture. It is her mindset. It is her upbringing that stops her from seeking any remedy. She lives in silence, taking all the abuse. Now, to be fair to the men, because the men should not think that it's only the women whom I'm actually talking for, there are equal number of marriages in India where men are also cooperating, taking the abuses of women, insults, are frustrated. There are marriages where the women have gone on with extramarital affairs, abuses, taking away the money. The man is actually reduced to be a puppy in the house, but yet he does not seek divorce. Why? Because of the mindset. The culture, he cares for the children. He loves his children. He is dutiful. He wants to take care of his family, earn for the family, provide for his family. So whether it's man or woman, the sum total effect is that divorce is taking place because of our mindsets, not because of the laws that exist. So we are living in marriages as per our mindsets. Some of us are not even aware of the laws. And even if we come to know of the laws, we do not want to seek remedies on the laws. That's why if you see the statistics of US, 50% divorce. There's no programming, you see, you don't feel guilty. You're not supposed to be programmed to take insults, abuses. Well, then that brings us to the final question. Why don't marriages work peacefully? Why can't a man and woman, when they marry, or even maybe LGBT or whatever, why can't they coexist peacefully? Right from time immemorial, since the days of civilization till 2020, till today, why are there fights in the marriages? Dissatisfaction. What are the reasons to complain in a marriage? And why is it that some of these reasons actually lead to divorce and breakdown of the institution between the couple? To understand the reasons of complaining for marriage, we need to understand and go back to the discussion we first had. Why did we marry? We married because of our natural instincts, our natural needs. If I may quickly revise: sexual gratification, 2, labor, 3, money, 4, satisfaction of personal needs, 5, procreation and care for children. So let us now understand what are the reasons to complain in a marriage. 1, fulfillment of these needs, desires. If there is a shortcoming in this, then one complains. Less sex, less money, less respect, less love, less status. My wife does not respect me. My husband does not love me. So when we are not satisfied with our desires, that's one reason to complain. Then we have those set of people who actually, they're like saints, you know. They're okay. They settle for less. They don't mind if the desires are not fulfilled. But then what happens to them? More labor, more exploitation, harassment, abuse, just because they don't complain. Their goodness is taken for granted. The person runs out of patience. Then immaturity, lack of education, young age, no preparation for marriage. Well, the mature partner gets tired of explaining to the other, exhausted. Then the nature or character of the spouse, laziness, negative-minded, poor skills, irritating, quarrelsome, moody, anger. All this makes horrible company, horrible companionship. Then sexuality. This is one very, very big factor of divorce in the modern era. Earlier, sex was restricted only after marriage. So whatever it was easy to settle down. Now, people have already experimented sex before marriage. And after marriage, it becomes virtually impossible to get sexual gratification from one life partner. Therefore, the Honorable Supreme Court in the latest judgment, even when they said that adultery is not a crime, they said it's a matter of choice. If we start actually criminalizing adultery, it would really have a complete breakdown of marriage. Let every couple decide for themselves whether they want to remain their sexual practices, they want to restrict it within themselves, or go approach prostitutes or have extramarital affairs. This should be a private matter. At the most, there is a choice to walk out of the marriage on the grounds of adultery, which is a valid legal ground for adultery. So that's another reason to complain. In US, there is something called the gray divorce, the silver splitter, the diamond divorcees, 30, 40 years of marriage, and blame it on the Viagra, blame it on anything. One partner is not able to actually satisfy the other. How much ever we try to hide this, in India, the parents, relatives, even the individuals, the couples use this ground and frustration into another ground of cruelty. Don't come out in the open. Simply allege cases after cases of impotency, cases after cases, and the mother-in-law is made the scapegoat. She told me to make coffee. I earn 2 lakhs of rupees a day. Oh my God. All the in-laws are put into the jails, 498A, 3 and 4, Dowry Prohibition Act, number of other relatives and neighbors. Even people at workplaces are all roped in, and the couple by themselves do not want to come out in transparency that this is the issue which is frustrating them. Why can't they simply resolve it by taking divorce and getting married to somebody else who can sexually satisfy them? So it is very, very important to understand on this platform that the divorce laws are designed. They may be diverse, they may be little orthodox, but however, even human beings are not honest in accepting what are the shortfalls in them. Why they are not able to actually give their best in a marriage. And that leads to a lot of complaints, fights. Apart from that, there is money-mindedness. Everybody wants it quick, fast, Mercedes, BMWs. International holidays, people at 20, 25 getting married are wanting to have luxurious villas. Where can the poor boy get from? On one hand, women are saying that they're independent, they're earning, so that they can actually become a strength to the man. On the other hand, they say he's not providing a Mercedes. He's not providing the jewelry, designer jewelry. We need to look into ourselves. Then comes over-attachment. Sometimes the marriage is splendid, beautiful. But after the birth of a child, strangely, the dynamics change. One of them completely gets carried away in the attachment of the child to such an extent that he starts abusing the life partner. That's actually imbalance of handling the emotions. Then there is the ego, the arrogance. Two professionals getting married. No in-laws interference, nuclear family, lovely children, BMW, Mercedes, villas, designer jewelry, and absolutely no exploitation, and boom, we find them in the family courts. Why? Ego battle. All the skills of leadership are used in corporate houses. The man and the woman, both of them are corporate leaders, but they don't have any understanding on how to run a home. How can education ever help us then? How can even upliftment of women, education help them then? Lack of commitment is another reason. People get bored. They're not the family man or the family woman. So the easy way out. Then we have, even till today, unbelievable, but interference by the parents and relatives. Some kind of pleasure a third party gets in pulling down the couple's relationships, in filling the years of one against the others, jealousies, and making it more difficult for the young couple to actually have a happy married life. The status of woman, whether she's a working woman or she's a homemaker, can also become an issue if the husband doesn't want it or in-laws don't want it. Then there are social evils like the dowry harassment, the prostitution, then domestic violence. You see, ill treatment of daughter-in-laws. Oh, she's an outsider. She's stolen away the son from us. When are we going to evolve? Accepting that the marriage is between the couple, grown-ups. It's not a child marriage. Allow them to handle it. Allow them to take their rights as well as the responsibilities. Then there are other issues and complaints on religious grounds, health, cruelty, desertion. One can go on and on and on. One can read it up, go take advisors. There are n number of laws and n number of reasons actually to go on and on complaining of a bad marriage. The question is, who will decide whether we are in a bad marriage? If the couple is mature and handles all issues by themselves, absolutely no problem. But that's an ideal situation. After a particular point of time, be it the man or the woman, one runs out of patience, tolerance, is unable to live up to the marriage. And that is when the divorce laws come to protect them. The couple, be it the man or the woman, looks for help outside the marriage. They take help from third parties. Be it parents, be it relatives, be it neighbors, be it certain social institutions, NGOs, police, and lastly, the courts, judges, lawyers. They need help. That means divorce laws are a necessity, a necessary evil. That's where the role of the legislature comes. We have the divorce laws. We have spoken about all the marriage and divorce laws to a large extent. My personal view is that we need to get rid of all the age-old religious laws, and it's high time the UCC comes. The present government is the only government who has had in its agenda actually to institute what is the Uniform Civil Code. In November 2019, they attempted, they've withdrawn. Let us see whether they have the guts to do it. It's definitely not easy to say in this country, within the private rooms of our own home, that a Muslim is equal to a Hindu, is equal to a Jew. Leave alone that. We are not even trained to say the South Indian is equal to a North Indian. So unless we get over all these things, it's time that the laws imposes upon us the equality. And that will happen if the UCC comes into force. Let us see what the present government does. That is the role of the government, the legislature also. The role of the judiciary, it's very easy to blame the courts. It takes years together. There is no relief. We have petition for divorce. It's a mutual consent divorce, or it is a divorce petition by the wife or the husband. Either case, let me tell you this from 26 years of experience. The judiciary is doing a splendid job. Courts are not granting divorce for the asking. Courts are not entertaining any silly or flimsy reason and breaking marriages. No judge that I have known of for the last 26 years has got any sadistic pleasure in breaking any marriage. On the contrary, there are so many measures being made in mediation, conciliation. There are so many judges, not only in family courts, in high court, including in Supreme Court of India. When I last went for a case before Honorable Justice Kurian retired, he said, "What can I do? Today is my last day of retirement. What can I do as the most powerful person in the judiciary to protect you women?" I was fighting for the rights of a woman. I said, "My Lord, if only the man could protect the woman." Advocates. I took liberty to speak of us advocates. Advocates play a predominant role in social engineering. We have to be conscious. We need to follow professional ethics. We need to educate our clients. Firstly, we ourselves need to have advocacy skills of cross-examination, and a will to get to the truth of the matter in the facts and circumstances of each and every case. Only then we will be able to assist the court properly, truly, honestly, that look, whether it is the petitioner or the respondent, the man or the woman, this is the truth. Yes, extramarital affair has in fact occurred or not occurred. The play of games and using and misusing advocacy skills, playing around with the evidence acts, hiding off the particular evidences, making a fool and mockery if a woman does not have the full proof, is not advocacy. I don't take any pride in our fraternity if any advocate is actually getting X number of divorces. On the contrary, I'll take pride in my profession if I have actually been able to show the truth to the couple as to what is the problem in their marriage. Make honest endeavor if they can reconcile their differences, conciliate, mediate, educate, and then see if they can get together. And if not, The next step, lastly, is to see if they can have a respectable divorce by mutual consent. If not, then petition on behalf of a man or a woman against the other. That is advocacy. And then we are doing true justice to our profession, to humanity, to universal laws. And then we will be making it equal for the man and woman. And then we will be making the right use of the divorce laws, not as a threat to the institution of marriage, but to aid the institution of marriage. I can tell with experience that many of my clients who actually messed up their marriages because of immaturity or maybe a couple of mistakes, to err is human, have actually gone back and have either reconciled or have done very well in their second marriages. So the institution of marriage will remain intact, will always have value. People want to be in marriage. People really feel secure. Their needs are fulfilled, satisfied. They feel complete. So hope in marriage is there, even in 2020. The role of media, NGOs, feminists, the different societies, religious bodies, even our neighbors and social circles of the individuals undergoing divorce is disgusting. Courts are doing a splendid job by looking into the facts and circumstances of each and every case, appreciating the evidence that has been established, applying the laws, and then arriving at a decision. Therefore, that judgment holds value. Not the judgment of the media, not the judgment of some loose-tongued neighbor. Now, this is where we need to evolve. That if the divorce laws is a necessary evil, then we need to learn to live with it and keep it as a last resort when a marriage totally fails. So in conclusion, one important aspect in divorce laws which I would like to discuss is alimony or maintenance. Unfortunately, the position of women is still not clear in this country. There are two parallel systems. One, as I said earlier, women dependent on men, the father, the husband, and the son. But nobody thinks of the woman who's dependent on none. What about the women who are earning for themselves? It's shocking to know that there are advocates who advise such women litigants to say that they are not working so that they can get maintenance from the husbands. It's disgusting. We have people who are doctors, lawyers, engineers, fantastic women earning 2-3 lakhs a month, crores of rupees, and they hide their income tax statements instead of being proud about them, and they petition before the court that they don't have means to earn and they want alimony. It's not wrong to ask from the husband. I'll come to that point, but it's definitely wrong to lie. It's definitely wrong not to be proud of our own earnings. Now, why is this happening? This is happening because we have the age-old law where the women's right to property is not recognized. We had the recent landmark judgment where the Supreme Court has, of course, time and again said, and in 2020 August, the Supreme Court has said that our sons and daughters are equal. Daughters have equal rights in the property. Fantastic. I'm in complete agreement. But has anybody said wives and husbands are also equal? Wives also have property rights. What rights? She's a slave. So, my appeal to the legislature, my appeal to the judiciary is, my appeal to the entire world is that time has come that we recognize prenuptial agreements and also the marital property. Property where before entering into a marriage, our daughters exactly know what are her financial standings. Even my daughter, who may be a doctor and earning 2 to 3 lakhs a month, if I get her married into another qualified house, educated house of doctors, the husband being a surgeon and blah, blah, earning equally as my daughter, I'm still insecure because her earnings are taken away. Financial freedom is different from financial earnings. No property is made in her name. The dowry given is taken away, though it's illegal and it's given in the name of gifts. Bank accounts are not allowed to be accessed to. And if she has a child and she's unable to earn, God forbid, she's asked to go back to her marital home, to her maiden home, I'm sorry. So, to make the laws equal, to make man and woman equal, to make the husband and wife equal, it's time that our laws evolve into recognizing prenuptial agreements as well as the marital property. So in case of divorce, absolutely 50-50, like abroad, the property can be divided. And the man can keep his self-earnings to himself. The woman can keep her earnings to herself. The parents, in-laws, relatives, none of them will be harassed. All the abuse, this is almost a guarantee from my life experience as an advocate, practicing advocate, that all the abuses in marriages will end if a woman is respected for her financial freedom. So if I were to conclude today's topic, since it has been already, I guess, more than 45-50 minutes that I've spoken, that divorce laws, they're not a threat to the institution of marriage. Marriage is, and will always be a beautiful institution. A beautiful institution for any human being to live with in any point of time. And marriage will always find its own value. It will always evolve. It will ever keep changing. It knows how to survive. It will not get threatened by the divorce laws. And the divorce laws, on the other hand, are an absolute necessary evil in any given society, be it India or worldwide. However limited they may be, however abused they may be, but let me tell you something. The people are getting divorced not because of divorce laws, but because of their own mindsets. Therefore, divorce laws are not a threat, in my opinion, to the institution of marriage. So thank you again for having me over, and now on to you for the question and answers.
Thank you, Yovini. Before we go to the Q&A, may I welcome our principal, Professor Suresh V. Nadgowda, sir. Sir, kindly unmute yourself. Lakshmikant avare unmute ಮಾಡಿ ಸರ್ಗೆ. Sir, unmute ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ.
Sir, in what name, sir?
Galaxy M30 ಅಂತ ಹಾಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ನೋಡಿ.
Yes, sir. Now it is unmuted. Thank you very much, sir. And I really apologize for joining late in this lecture, because as I was head up in one of the important meetings at the university. In fact, I could hear Madam for more than half an hour. It was, in fact, a very informative and thought-provoking lecture. And in fact, she has explained all nuances of the marital laws as well as the institution of marriage. I take this opportunity to congratulate you, Madam, for a very informative lecture on behalf of University Law College. And I also thank my esteemed colleague, Dr. Sudesh, and Alumni Association President, C. Gautam Chandji, for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Yovini, We haven't had any live cricket matches these days. And thank you for providing one. It was as if Virat Kohli was going 6 and 4 all over. A fantastic presentation. Reminded of our college days, moot court debates and other things. Good one. Now, but there are some questions coming.
Sure.
These are all bouncers. I think you will be ready to answer these bouncers. Yeah. The first question is, if one of the parties to a divorce proceedings has admitted to have committed adultery and cruelty, is there any provision in law to ask the court to grant divorce on that ground alone without needing to lead evidence or trial?
May I answer now?
Yeah, please.
Absolutely no. Because let me tell you something, courts are not even going to believe the litigants themselves. You see, a person can be threatened, a person can be in depression, a person can be frustration. Anybody undergoing divorce is not in a right state of mind, you see. And the procedure established by law is such that you have to prove before a court of law. The trial is not a joke. It's not a village panchayat where someone can come. I've had so many such experience. In one case, the husband was so depressed that his wife wanted to leave him, and he felt so guilty, exactly like in the question that you have asked, for having actually had one fling outside, and told before the court, I bow down before the thee. He did, full Danvatam, and said, I am the criminal, I am feeling guilty, kill me, finish me, take everything away from me, and give away everything to my wife. They had a son and a daughter. The judge's duty, obligation cast upon the judiciary is not to just get carried away by emotions. It can be examined in the facts and circumstances of the case, along with the evidentiary value of what has happened, the adultery or whatever, whether it was just enough for the divorce. And only then the other rights can be determined. On the child custody, can children be given into the custody of such man? What if the woman has blackmailed the man? Can children be given to such a characterless woman? Therefore, my answer is no. Let the court do its job, and the law has to take its own course, and trial has to happen.
Yeah. The next question is something like this. This is on property. Whether wife is entitled to get a share in husband's self-acquired property.
As I discussed, the property laws, alimony, maintenance, these issues in India are the worst ever in the world, because we are stuck in the old era where a woman had no property rights. Can you believe it? In 2020, the Supreme Court is still clarifying the daughter's rights. Now, earlier, the law was, please understand, on basis of which the laws are enacted and are governing even today, that it's a man's society. Man would go out to work, the woman would be at home. So women never had any self-earned money. Therefore, woman had to be maintained. When she was maintained and taken from the hands as a property from the father, dowry was taken so that the boy, the husband, gets strengthened in financial condition, and that money is used to maintain the woman. So much so in the old age also, that money is taken away by the son and she is maintained. So in such a scenario, when she doesn't have any self-acquired property, she has no right in the husband's self-acquired property. She is only maintained as per the status of the husband. But if for any reason she becomes a widow under Hindu Marriage Act and other succession laws, there are certain rights she gets. But when a woman gets divorced, now this is interesting. Where is the question of any rights? When she's living with him, she doesn't have any rights. And all women ask me, why can't I get, he has got 10 crores in the bank, why can't I get 5 crores? It's not possible. That is why I was advocating the concept of marital property, where actually the self-acquired properties are not touched upon, but the marital property, yes, they can have rights.
Yeah. The next question is like this. If one of the parties to divorce proceedings has that is done, whether the first wife's child is entitled to father's property acquired even before the first marriage through partition of ancestral properties.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question? I couldn't hear.
Whether the first wife's child is entitled to father's property acquired even before the first marriage through partition of ancestral properties.
See, these are all governing by the Hindu Succession Marriage Act. So we have to see, even if the first wife and the husband in the divorce laws, if there are any orders passed. Yeah, and therefore the child's right generally by inheritance are not affected by any divorces. You see, alimonies are. Okay, children are out of this. But this is not at all area of divorce. It goes into the Hindu Marriage Act.
Yes.
Okay, the next question is
Sudesh.
Yeah.
On a later note to Yovidi, sorry, Amita.
Yeah.
Is the institution of marriage is only a compromise?
If we human beings accept one thing in ourselves, that we are not perfect, when we can compromise with our own personality, then is it too much to ask to adjust with your companion? The answer is yes.
I do. We need to have a lot of compromises.
Sorry?
We need to have a lot of compromises.
See, basically, now that requires a different dimension altogether. As I said, consciousness. You see, it's all the mindset, it's not the laws. So if my conscience is high, if I'm a working woman, my mother-in-law wants a cup of coffee, and if I can make a cup of coffee for her, is it wrong? Is it below my dignity? Have I devalued myself? So we have to ask ourselves. You see, originally the dowry laws were where women who would have dowry, have dominance of money and would bully other women who were poor and not do the household work and exploit them. You see, so we need to understand that why did we study? Why did we educate? Not to fight with men to bring down the institution of marriage, but to support the man to enjoy these compromises, these adjustments, these little things which are lacking in marriages are also to be cherished in the act of fulfillment. So it's a personality issue. We need to grow. Husband and wife complement each other. And then we will be in a position to accept that compromises are hardly a compromise. Yeah?
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. The next question, Amita, I think probably this is answered, but anyhow, since it is already in the chat box. Yeah. The question is, if divorce laws are threat to institution of marriage, what's the remedy for spouse who are on the receiving end? And the other one connected is, right to live or not to live with spouse is a legal right. Why do you say that divorce laws are threat to institution of marriage?
Let me clarify. I never said divorce laws are a threat to institution of marriage.
It was a question posed to ourselves.
Yeah, it's a topic open for debate, and I said my view. In my view, divorce laws are never ever a threat to the institution of marriage, because here is the institution of marriage which is going to be so natural by the natural instinct of human beings, and here is the divorce as a last resort. Nobody, believe it, I've seen 26 years a number of couples having problems. Nobody who marries wants to go for divorce. If they are going for divorce, it's after having exhausted 100 possibilities. So therefore, your first question itself is wrong. I never said that the divorce is a threat for institution of marriage. And legal right, I think something you said about some legal right. What was the second part of the question?
1 minute, I'll get back to you.
Something about some legal right.
1 minute. If divorce laws are threat to institution of marriage, what's the remedy for spouse? Okay, right to live or not to live with spouse is a legal right.
It's
Why do you say the divorce law?
Right.
Yeah.
It's a fundamental right. I think I've clarified this in my talk today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
Subjected to only reasonable restrictions.
fine. The next question is, if a woman has her own property from her father and she dies suddenly, does it go to her husband or mother?
No, it doesn't. Man has no right to take the inherited properties of the woman.
Okay, any more questions on live with the permission of the president? Or this should be the last
Please
question?
go on. Please go on. If there is
Any
any
live
direct
questions?
they can ask.
Yeah, once more, there's one after the judgment of the Supreme Court in Yashita Sahu's case. Is it possible to get daily or alternate day visitation rights of a minor child to the father's house?
See, visitation rights, unfortunately, is also part of the divorce laws, which are very plural, dynamic. They are not uniform. Okay. So case to case basis, though there are a number of Supreme Court judgments, like as you referred to, that at least alternate days, once in a week or once in a month, depending on the situation, the visitation rights are granted. Yet, no. I'm sorry to say that there is no uniform pattern, and Supreme Court judgment also has its serious limitations in following in the cases in the courts below, to the extent in which it is supposed to have been.
Okay, the next and the last question, the chat box is, it is how, but I'll add why. Why and how do you think is the Uniform Civil Code an answer for all ills?
Because Uniform Civil Code will treat you equal. First thing is, you'll stop getting a high and a superiority complex that either you're a Hindu or you're a Muslim or you're a Jew or a Sikh. You will stop identifying yourself as per your caste, creed, culture, South Indian, North Indian, Indian, American, whatever. You will be identifying yourself only as a human being. So that cuts 90% of the problems. What remains? Obviously, same rights. So uniform civil courts will give definitely equal rights on terms of, the type of marriage, whether you can actually go outside the marriage, the sexuality, money rights, alimony, maintenance, property rights, children, custody, all of that will be taken care of on a uniform platform.
Thank you,
why
Yogini. Apart from, thank you. Apart from all the questions, you also have several congratulatory messages and good talk, good
I think she can. I think she can read that.
Yeah,
on the chat box.
You can read for yourself. She was only thinking only bouncers are coming. No, there are some good length balls also. Many good length balls. So all of them can be neatly taken for a 6. And with this, if there are no other questions, may I hand over the platform to Aditya for the formal vote of thanks. Thank you very much, Yogini. Over to you, Aditya.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. Distinguished speaker, Ms. Yogini Rajesh, valued guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege today to have been asked to propose the vote of thanks. I, on behalf of the ULC Alumni Association and the entire executive committee, thank Ms. Yogini Rajesh for enlightening us on a topic that is so rarely discussed, a topic that touches the social and personal fabric of every individual in this country. We appreciate your attention for touching upon the nitty-gritties of marriage and how the institution of marriage has evolved. Further, we thank you for enlightening us on the necessity and the importance of the Uniform Civil Code in today's time. I also wish to express our deepest gratitude to Dr. V. Sudesh, to President Gautam Chand and all the executive committee members for their consistent support and their encouragement. I would also like to thank the principal of University Law College for his constant guidance and his time for attending this lecture. I must mention our deepest gratitude to Dr. Sunil Shastri, Mr. Sridhar Chakravarti, Ms. Bindu, and Mr. Lakshmikant for stitching this event together and striving hard towards making this webinar a success. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Gautam sir. Gautam,
yes.
Before we conclude, we'll ask Yogini to influence Rajesh to give a lecture on GST.
My goodness. He
Not
is there.
committing.
Settle issues. Okay, Amit, I think you should really influence